Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I'm a Vision Tech student here at Smoky Valley High School, and I did a project over code, specifically ObjectiveC, and I would love to talk to you about that today. So I'm going to start by giving you a brief history of ObjectiveC. So we're going to start in 1972, and that marks the birth of the original C programming language. This was not an object-oriented language, this was not C++, not C#, this was just C. Okay, it's just basic C. But in 1980, you see the birth of a language called Smalltalk. Now, Smalltalk was the first object-oriented language to really catch on. And C was incredibly popular, and a lot of people who were writing in C wanted to write a C program that incorporated the object orientation of Smalltalk. So you see the birth of a language like C++, and there are multiple ones. Now what makes that different from ObjectiveC? Well, we'll talk about that here in a minute. And about 1986, you see the combination of the C programming language and Smalltalk to make a really successful object-oriented C language called ObjectiveC. Now, what makes Objective-C different? Well, we're going to start with just the C language. Now, on this side of the spectrum, you have things like C++, Java, C#. These are all C-based object-oriented languages. And on this side, you have Objective-C. So what makes it different? Well, what happened with C++ and C# is they started over. They threw out the playbook. They started fresh. Now, why are they still C? Well, they are still based on C. They just started over. So they are very different in that way. Objective-C, however, and let's put boxes to show that they are the same but different. Objective-C, however, it did not start over. It took what it had. The people who made it, they took what they had, and they just baked things onto it. They added things like properties, like classes, categories, objects, and those are all now part of Objective-C. But Objective-C is not different. It is just a language that has had many things just piled on top of it over the years. So if we keep on going with our timeline, how did Objective-C become popular? Well, in 1988, you see the birth of a company called Next Computers. Now, Next was started by Steve Jobs, who was fired from Apple in 1985. Now, we all know he came back, but anyway, in 1988, he started a company called Next Computers, and in 1989, they released their software, their operating system called Next Step 1.0. This was a very revolutionary operating system. It was way ahead of many things in its time. It was expensive, but it was way ahead. Now, the thing about Next Step is it used Objective-C, and it was the first successful operating system to really use Objective-C. Now, you see a release, they updated it, and in 1996, Apple bought Next. Okay, so Next Step is now property of Apple computers. Obviously, Steve Jobs came back, but that's a different thing. Okay, keep on going a few years, and in 2001, you see Apple released Mac OS X. Now, Mac OS X really is written in Objective-C. Okay, this was really the first thing that Apple wrote that optimized the use of Objective-C, and it was an amazing operating system at the time. Now, you add in a little bit of innovation, and in 2007, you see iOS come out, or at the time, it was called iPhone OS. And then you see, of course, they updated Mac OS 10.5. Now, why is that special? Well, first of all, the iPhone OS was written in Objective-C. Okay, so your iPhone, it runs Objective-C. Now, what does that mean for the community? Well, that gave birth to something called the iPhone SDK. Now, people can write for the iPhone, and it's in Objective-C. Okay, in 2010, you see the iPad for iOS, and you see another update with Mountain Lion, with Snow Leopard, all that stuff. And that gives birth to the iPad SDK. So, what does this mean? Why am I showing you this? Well, what I'm saying is it's popular and it's necessary. It has to be Objective-C, because over the last 15 years or so, things have just been layered in Objective-C. They can't go back. They can't just throw out the playbook. Apple is built on Objective-C. That is why Objective-C is necessary. So, what did I learn in this project? Well, code, specifically ObjectiveC Syntax, XCode, Apple's app for developing apps, and Basic Application Control, or MVC. Now I'm going to take you through each one of these. code, specifically Objective-C. And if you don't know, syntax is kind of like the order of things. Think of it like code grammar. And every language has different grammar, so every language has different syntax. So I'm going to talk about two things. I could talk about a million things. I've spent 4 weeks just absorbing this stuff, and it's been awesome. But I'm going to talk about two things. Okay, I've been restraining myself, and I'll talk about two things. Okay, I'll talk about classes and data types, specifically primitive to Objective-C. I'll talk about statements. Now, statements kind of ties in. I'm not really going to have to focus too much. But classes, it's a big mountain, so we're going to try and climb that. Okay, classes and data types. Okay, a class or data type is a description of the attributes or the properties and the behavior or the methods of an object. It is a blueprint or a definition. Okay, it is the blueprint for the house, but it is not the house. Okay, that's important to remember. Okay, example classes are NS text box, NS button, NS window. Now, something fun, just a little bit of trivia. Whenever I was writing this, I always wondered why is it NS window? Why is it NS date? Why can't it just be date? Well, it's pretty simple. NS stands for next step. And I mean, it just really is a testimony to how layered this operating system is. And I don't know, that is just really cool to me. All right, so what is the class describing? The class defines an object. Okay, so you have classes, you have objects. Okay, a class defines it. So what is an attribute and what is a behavior? Well, an attribute or a property is what is the thing's name, what is its height, what is its weight, what is its gender, okay, etc. And these are just examples. There are a million things that you can say it is, okay? And the behavior is what it can do. Walk, run, jump, sleep. Okay, so on this side we have what the object is, and this side we have what the object can do. Okay, so what is the object? The object is anything. It can be anything. It can be words, numbers, people. There's a million things, okay? Note that just as you can make multiple houses with the same blueprint, you can make multiple objects with the same class. Okay, and that's one of the best metaphors that I've ever heard for that ability. Okay, so what does it look like? Okay, so I have a few things here. This is this is statement, okay, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so right here we have the class. It is an NS string. Okay, that's what it is. This is the pointer to the object, and this is the object. Okay, so what does that mean? This is telling this to define itself as this, but don't worry, I have some arrows. So the class is telling the pointer to the object to define itself as the object. So now, later on, when I say, I'm sorry if you can hear that bandsaw in the background, we have some construction going on in this building, but it's saying later on when I refer to message, it's going to think I want it to say hello. This can be used in multiple ways. If I say I have a brother, okay, if I say brother equals 10, because he's 10 years old, if I say brother equals 10, then I can say brother plus 5, and then it'll come out with 15. Okay, that's what this is doing. It is defining the object, like I said. Yeah, and kind of explained that there. Okay, now note this entire thing is called a statement. Okay, statements are just something that you use. Okay, you are stating this. Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay, XCode. XCode is Apple's application for developing applications. Okay, specifically for Objective-C, but it can also read C or C++. Since it is layered like that. Okay, so I'm going to give you a demo. Alright, I'm running Lion here, so I'm going to scoot around. I don't want an update. I'm just going to scoot over to here. Okay, so this is XCode. XCode is a developer's dream. Well, none of this is important unless you are going to publish this app. So we're just going to skip that and go to main storyboard. Now, this is where Objective-C soars, okay? It is an object-oriented program, so they made it an object-oriented navigate. I mean, it's very well put together. Yeah, so it obviously looks like an iPhone. This is my view of what my iPhone looks like. Okay, so I'm just gonna scroll down here. Over here in the bottom right, no, wrong thing. Okay, I have an object library. Now, what these are doing is, I drag a text field, I drop it, and then I can edit it, type it. Okay, so say I want a placeholder, I want to put name, so they know to put their name. I'm gonna center it and I'll click. Okay, so now you can see it is kind of faint. That's just, I mean, you know, you see that in applications all the time. I mean, there's a million different things you can do with this. Now, obviously, your view and your code work hand in hand, so there's a handy thing up here in the editor, it looks like a tuxedo, where you can choose to view your code at the same time you view your view. So here is just I'm going to show you a few more things that make Xcode amazing. I'm going to, okay, so I have this button here. It's there. Does the code know? Not at all. It has no idea that it's there. So how do I tell it? Well, I'm going to hit control, click, and I'm dragging. It's almost humorous how easy this is. Okay, I'm going to drag and drop right into the code. Okay, now it realizes I want to make an outlet. I want to tell the code there's a text field right here. So I can name it my text field and then connect it. And there's my code right there. How awesome is that? It's amazing. Okay, so this one, I've written a little bit of code. I'll delete this. This is not an iOS application. Okay, this is a Mac application, but it's not an object one. Okay, this is just like a place where I can type lines of code and run it and see if it works. Okay, so I'm going to just type a little bit of code. What it's going to do is the compiler is going to go down, it's going to read it, it's going to tell me what is happening. Okay, so I'm not going to run this application right now. But what it would do is it would say, all right, Bill equals 17. It would learn that. Okay, now it's going to go to switch and it's saying, all right, he wants me to go through all these options and tell him which one is correct. Okay, so case 16, does Bill equal 16? It does not, so it's not going to get it, but it is 17. Okay, so I kind of did that to demonstrate to you how user-friendly writing code is. That is a brief demonstration of Xcode. Moving on. Okay, now we're going to talk about application control, or MVC. Okay, what is MVC? Well, MVC is model view controller. So your model is what your application is, but not how it is displayed. Your controller's minions is the view. Okay, your view are things like buttons, like labels, or the text field that I dragged on a minute ago. Yeah, and your controller is how your model is presented to the user or the code. Okay, so what does this look like? That is what it looks like. So I could read you through a list of rules. There are about 10 basic rules that you have to obey when you are using this model. Okay, but when I was learning this, it took me a day or two to really wrap my mind around this concept. Okay, I really struggled with it. And I finally went on with that lesson, and the guy was like, yeah, so now that is a basic single MVC. Now let's see how MVCs work together. And I saw that, and it was just, that was frustrating, because I mean, I don't even try to understand that right now. I mean, that is in the future. Okay, so nope. What I did not cover that I learned in this project, well, just a few things. Quite a few things. And more. So, what did I learn? Let's give a recap. Okay, so code, specifically ObjectiveC Syntax. Okay, so we talked about statements, we talked about classes and all those things. Okay, Xcode, I gave you a demonstration of Xcode, wrote a little bit for you. Incredibly basic stuff, but I did show you how the interface works. And basic application controller, MVC, like I showed you a minute ago, that diagram. So, that is my project, and thank you for watching, thank you for bearing with me, and I'll see you later. Bye.